Invited to the unknown, a party with only alien women. The mysterious summons. The holographic invitation materialized above Marcus Chen's desk without warning, its crystalline edges shimmering with colors that didn't exist in Earth's spectrum. He leaned forward, adjusting his glasses as unfamiliar symbols rearranged themselves into readable text. You are cordially invited to an evening of unprecedented discovery aboard Celestera Prime. Your presence has been specifically requested. Marcus frowned. As a cultural liaison officer for the Interstellar Relations Council, he received plenty of invitations, but never one so cryptic. The coordinates indicated a location 3 days' journey from Earth, in neutral space where dozens of civilizations overlapped. The encryption signature was legitimate, verified through channels he trusted. His curiosity won over his caution. The shuttle ride gave him time to wonder what awaited him. Celestera Prime's reputation preceded it, a magnificent orbital station known for hosting gatherings of the galaxy's elite. Built from materials that seemed to capture and reflect starlight, it served as neutral ground for species who might otherwise never meet peacefully. When Marcus finally stepped through the airlock, his breath caught. The grand hall stretched before him like something from a dream. Vaulted ceilings disappeared into manufactured twilight, while floating light sculptures drifted overhead like miniature constellations. Music wove through the air, a blend of instruments he recognized and some he didn't. But what truly stopped him was the guests. Everywhere he looked, elegant figures moved through the space with fluid grace. All women, all clearly from different worlds. Some bore subtle differences from human features, eyes that gleamed with internal light, skin that shifted with opalescent patterns, hair that moved as though underwater. Others were more dramatically distinct, yet all carried themselves with unmistakable sophistication. First time at one of these gatherings? The voice came from his left, melodic with an accent that reminded him of wind through crystal chimes. Marcus turned to find himself facing a woman whose beauty struck him like a physical force. Her skin held a subtle luminescence, as though moonlight lived beneath its surface. Dark hair fell in waves past her shoulders, and her eyes, deep amber flecked with silver, studied him with amused intelligence. "That obvious," Marcus managed, finding his voice. She smiled, and something in his chest tightened. "You have the look of someone who expected something entirely different. I'm Zafira Solon, xenolinguist from the Andari Commonwealth." Marcus Chen, Earth's Liaison Division. He extended his hand in the universal gesture of greeting, which she accepted with a knowing smile. Her touch was warm, electric. "Welcome to Celestera Prime, Marcus Chen. I think you'll find this evening full of surprises." The evening unfolded like layers of an intricate puzzle. Zafira guided Marcus through the crowd, introducing him to women from civilizations he'd only read about in reports. There was Kessa, a trader from the Rim worlds whose laughter sounded like bells. Nairen, a poet whose people communicated partially through bioluminescent patterns on their skin. Each conversation left Marcus more enchanted and more curious about why he was the only human, the only male present. "You're wondering about the guest list," Zafira said, reading his expression with unnerving accuracy. "The thought crossed my mind," Marcus admitted, accepting a glass of something that sparkled like liquid starlight from a passing server. "Patience. All will become clear." Her eyes danced with mischief. "For now, the music is calling. Do you dance, Marcus Chen?" Before he could answer, she took his hand and led him toward the center of the hall, where others already moved in time to the shifting melodies. The music changed as they entered the space, becoming something both familiar and alien, a waltz tempo with harmonics that seemed to resonate in his bones. Marcus placed his hand at Zafira's waist, feeling the warmth of her through the fabric of her gown. She moved closer, her hand resting on his shoulder, and they began to dance. "You move well," she observed, following his lead effortlessly. "My mother insisted on lessons.
said diplomacy often happened on dance floors. The words came easier than he expected. Something about Zafira made conversation feel natural, as though they'd known each other far longer than the past hour. "Wise woman," Zafira tilted her head, studying him. "Tell me, Marcus, if you could ask the universe one question and receive a true answer, what would you ask?" The question caught him off guard. Around them, other couples spun in elegant arcs, the lighting shifting to match the music's mood. "That's not small talk." "No," she agreed, her smile softening. "But small talk is for people who don't interest me. You interest me." Heat crept up Marcus's neck. "Why?" "Answer my question first." He considered as they moved together, her body aligned perfectly with his. "I think I'd ask what connects us all. Humans, Andari, everyone. What makes consciousness reach out across the void, looking for other minds to touch?" Zafira's expression shifted, something deeper flickering in those amber eyes. "A beautiful answer. Most would ask about power or wealth or the secrets of the universe. Those seem lonely compared to connection." "Indeed." She drew slightly closer, her voice dropping. "My turn. I would ask if love can transcend the boundaries of worlds." Marcus's heart stuttered. "That's a hypothesis worth testing." Her laugh was soft, intimate. "Perhaps it is. Now, my people have a tradition. We challenge those we wish to know better with riddles. 3 questions, 3 answers. Get them right, and I'll tell you why you're really here." "And if I get them wrong?" Zafira's smile turned playful. "Then you owe me a secret. Something true you've never told anyone." The music swelled around them, and Marcus found himself nodding. "I accept." First riddle. "I am born of collision, yet I create harmony. I exist between worlds but belong to none. What am I?" Marcus thought as they danced, watching the light play across Zafira's features. "A bridge, or an understanding between different peoples." "Close enough. The answer is music, but your interpretation shows insight." She seemed pleased. "Second, I grow stronger the more I'm shared, yet I can be destroyed by silence. I cannot be seen, but can be felt across any distance. What am I?" This one came easier. "Trust." "Yes." Something in her voice made his pulse quicken. Final riddle. "I am the reason stars burn, the force that binds atoms, and the answer to your question about what connects us all. What am I?" Marcus met her gaze, seeing his own reflection in those luminous eyes. The answer formed not in his mind, but somewhere deeper, in the space between their bodies as they moved together. "Attraction," he said quietly, "in all its forms." Zafira stopped dancing, though the music continued around them. They stood close enough that he could feel her breath, see the quickening pulse at her throat. "You win," she whispered. "Come with me. It's time you knew the truth."
Gardens of Connection. Zafira led Marcus away from the celebration, through corridors that curved like the inside of a shell. Other guests passed them with knowing smiles, but no one interrupted. The sounds of the gala faded behind them, replaced by something else, the whisper of moving water, the rustle of leaves. They emerged into a space that stole Marcus's breath. The biodome stretched above them in a perfect sphere, its transparent walls revealing the star field beyond. But inside was a garden unlike anything Earth had produced. Bioluminescent plants cast everything in soft, shifting light, blues and purples and greens that pulsed like slow heartbeats.
Trees with silver bark reached upward, their leaves chiming softly in the artificial breeze. Mist drifted between pathways made of something that felt like moss but glowed beneath their feet. "This is incredible," Marcus breathed. "Each plant here comes from a different world," Zephyra explained, leading him down a winding path. "A living collection of the galaxy's beauty. I come here when I need to think." They walked in comfortable silence for a moment, the garden seeming to respond to their presence. Flowers turned toward them, releasing scents that reminded Marcus of rain and honey and something he couldn't name, but found achingly beautiful. "You've been very patient," Zephyra said finally, stopping beside a small pool where the water glowed with gentle luminescence. "This gathering, it has a purpose beyond simple celebration." "I gathered that." Marcus stood close to her, their shoulders nearly touching. "The question is, why you wanted me here, specifically? You did invite me, didn't you?" She turned to face him, and in the garden's light, she looked almost otherworldly. "Yes, I've followed your work for 2 years, Marcus. Your writings on cultural bridge building, your advocacy for genuine understanding rather than mere toleration. You see people, truly see them regardless of where they come from." "That's just basic decency." "No," she said firmly. "It's rare, precious. When this gathering was proposed, when each of us was asked to invite someone we believed capable of connection beyond boundaries, I thought of you." Marcus's mind raced. "So, somewhere else on this station are other gatherings, other pairs meeting, talking, discovering each other." Zephyra stepped closer, close enough that he could see the patterns of silver that seemed to swim beneath her skin. "This is an experiment in possibility. Can connection transcend the barriers we build? Can something genuine bloom between beings from different stars? And if it can, then perhaps there's hope for all of us." The vulnerability in her voice cracked something open in Marcus's chest. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and took her hand. "For what it's worth, I'm glad you chose me." "Are you?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "Even knowing that anything between us would be complicated beyond measure, that we live worlds apart, that our peoples barely understand each other, that this might be nothing more than one beautiful night?" Marcus used his free hand to gently cup her face, his thumb tracing the line of her cheekbone. "Zephyra, I've spent my entire career believing that understanding between different peoples is possible, that connection matters more than convenience. If I don't believe that in my own life, what kind of hypocrite am I?" She leaned into his touch, her eyes closed briefly. When they opened again, they shimmered with emotion. "I hoped you'd say something like that." "Can I kiss you?" The question came out rougher than he intended. Instead of answering, Zephyra rose on her toes and closed the distance between them. Her lips were soft and warm, tasting faintly of something sweet. The kiss started gentle, questioning, but quickly deepened as Marcus pulled her closer. She made a small sound against his mouth that sent electricity down his spine. Her hands found his hair, fingers tangling there, while his arms wrapped around her waist. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Zephyra rested her forehead against his. "I've wanted to do that since you first walked into the hall." "Just since then?" Marcus teased, pressing a kiss to her temple. She laughed softly. "Perhaps a bit longer. There was a conference on Proxima Station last year. You gave a presentation on artistic expression across cultures. I sat in the back row and couldn't take my eyes off you. I wish I'd noticed you. You were focused. It was attractive. Walk with me more. I want to show you something." They continued deeper into the garden, hands intertwined, stopping occasionally for kisses that grew longer and more urgent. Zafira led him to a section where massive flowers grew, their petals creating private alcoves. "These are star flowers," she explained, guiding him into one such space. "They bloom once every decade, releasing spores that can survive in the vacuum of space until they find a new home." Inside the flower's embrace, the world narrowed to just the two of them. Marcus pulled Zafira close again, kissing her with all the feeling building in his chest. She responded with equal intensity, her body pressing against his as months of distant admiration and tonight's electric connection finally found expression. "Tell me this isn't just tonight," Marcus whispered against her lips. "Tell me we can figure out the rest." Zafira's answer was another kiss, deep and full of promise, as the stars wheeled overhead and the garden kept their secrets. The revelation. Eventually they emerged from the garden's embrace, clothes slightly disheveled, faces flushed with more than the exertion of walking. Zafira's hair had come partially loose from its elegant arrangement, and Marcus couldn't stop touching her. Small gestures, his hand at the small of her back, fingers brushing her arm, as though afraid she might vanish if he lost contact. "I should tell you everything," Zafira said, as they found a bench overlooking a waterfall that flowed upward, defying gravity in the station's carefully controlled environment. "About why this gathering exists, what we hope to accomplish?" Marcus settled beside her, close enough that their thighs touched. "I'm listening." She took a breath, her fingers lacing through his. "For generations, our peoples have communicated through formal channels, treaties, trade agreements, diplomatic protocols, all necessary, all important, but something was missing. We were building connections between governments, not between hearts. And someone decided that needed to change? A coalition of us, actually. Scientists, artists, philosophers, those who believed that the future of galactic civilization depended on more than just political alliances. Zafira turned to face him, her expression serious. We needed to know if genuine bonds could form across the void, not just tolerance or mutual benefit, but real affection, understanding, love. The word hung between them, weighty with implication. "So you created this," Marcus said slowly, pieces falling into place. "A controlled experiment in connection." "Not so controlled, actually. We chose people we believed were capable of openness, of seeing beyond surface differences. Then we simply let nature take its course." A smile tugged at her lips, though I confess my choice was not entirely objective. "Oh?" Marcus raised an eyebrow, his thumb stroking circles on the back of her hand. Zafira's luminescence deepened, and he realized with delight that she was blushing. "I told you I noticed you at that conference. What I didn't mention was that afterward, I found every recording of your presentations, read everything you'd published. I told myself it was professional interest, but it wasn't." "No." She met his eyes, vulnerable in a way that made his heart ache. "I was fascinated by your mind, yes, your ideas, your passion for building understanding, but also the way you smile when you think no one is watching, how you listen with your whole attention, the kindness in everything you do." Marcus cupped her face with his free hand, thumb brushing across her cheek. "Zafira, I need you to know something. What's happening between us, it's not just because of tonight's magic or this incredible place. I feel like I've been waiting to meet you without knowing it. Even though you're from a world you've never visited, even though my people measure time differently, eat foods that might seem strange to you, express emotion in ways you're still learning to read, especially because of those things." He leaned closer, his forehead resting against hers. You challenge me to grow, to understand, to be better than I was yesterday. How could I not fall for that? Her breath hitched. Fall? I know it's too soon to say certain things, Marcus continued, his voice rough with emotion. We've known each other for mere hours, but Zafira, I've never felt this certain about anything. Whatever this is between us, I want to explore it, navigate it, fight for it if necessary. Tears gathered in Zafira's eyes, catching the bioluminescent light. The distance between our worlds is just distance. We have ships, communication arrays, quantum entanglement networks. Where there's a will, there's a way. He kissed her softly. Unless you don't want. I want, she interrupted fiercely, kissing him back with an intensity that left no doubt for questions. I want everything. I want morning conversations across star systems and visits that never feel long enough. I want to learn how you take your coffee and what makes you laugh at 3 a.m. I want to introduce you to my family and meet yours. I want... Marcus silenced her with another kiss, this one deep and full of promise. When they broke apart, both were smiling. We're probably insane, he murmured. Undoubtedly, Zafira laughed, the sound bright with joy. But isn't that what all the best love stories require? A little madness? They sat together as the artificial night deepened around them, talking about everything and nothing. Marcus learned that Zafira's favorite food was something called moonberries, which grew only in her homeworld's northern valleys, that she had a younger brother who drove her crazy, but whom she adored, that she dreamed of writing a book bridging linguistic theory with emotional expression across species. Zafira learned that Marcus played the piano, badly but enthusiastically, that he'd lost his father young and it had shaped his belief in making every connection count, that he was terrified of deep water but loved watching rain. They shared kisses between revelations, each one feeling both thrilling and natural, as though their bodies had known each other far longer than their minds. Marcus traced the patterns of light beneath Zafira's skin, marveling at how they brightened when he made her laugh. She explored the texture of his hair, the line of his jaw, memorizing him through touch. The gala will end at sunrise, Zafira said, though she made no move to leave their secluded spot. There's a viewing deck on the station's highest point. I'd like to watch it with you. I'd follow you anywhere, Marcus replied, and meant it completely. They stood together, hands still intertwined, and made their way toward whatever came next.
Dawn of tomorrow. The observation deck was nearly empty when they arrived, just a handful of other couples scattered across the vast space. Through the transparent walls, the universe spread out in all its magnificent glory. Nebulae painting cosmic clouds in shades of pink and gold, distant stars burning with ancient light, and the slow rotation of nearby planets. Marcus and Zafira stood at the forward viewport, her back against his chest, his arms wrapped around her waist. They'd been talking for hours, but now fell into comfortable silence, simply being together as they waited for the station's sunrise. Do you see that cluster there? Zafira pointed to a collection of blue-white stars. That's the Andari system, my home. Marcus pressed a kiss to her shoulder. It's beautiful, like you. Smooth talker. But she leaned back into him, contentment radiating from every line of her body. And that yellowish one, 3 degrees to the left? That's Sol, your son. He studied the distance between them, the vast emptiness of space that separated their worlds. In the cold light of approaching dawn, it should have seemed impossible. But wrapped around Zafira, feeling her heartbeat against his chest, Marcus felt only determination. How do we do this? He asked quietly. Practically, I mean. Zafira turned in his arms to face him. I have a research sabbatical coming up in 3 months. I could spend it on Earth, study human linguistic development, but really, be near you. 3 months is a long time. We have quantum communication. We could talk every day.
Her hands rested on his chest, fingers playing with the fabric of his shirt. And I could arrange to return every few months after that? My work is flexible. Mine too. I could request assignment to projects involving the Andari Commonwealth, find excuses to visit your world. Marcus smiled. Though something tells me we'll both be terrible at keeping things professional. Absolutely terrible, Saphira agreed, rising on her toes to kiss him. The kiss was interrupted by the first rays of artificial sunrise breaking over the station's horizon. Golden light flooded the observation deck, transforming it into something magical. Around them, other couples murmured in appreciation, but Marcus only had eyes for Zafira. In the sunrise glow, her skin seemed to capture and reflect the light, making her appear almost ethereal. Her eyes shimmered with emotion, joy, hope, and something deeper that made his heart race. "I have something for you," Zafira said, reaching into a pocket of her gown. She pulled out a small pendant on a delicate chain. The stone at its center swirled with colors that seemed to move. "This is Andari glass. It's made from the sand of my homeworld's beaches, superheated and formed under our moon's light. My people give them to those we—" She paused, searching for words. "To those who matter." Marcus took it with reverent care, watching the colors shift, deep purples bleeding into silver, touches of blue like captured sky. "It's incredible. I don't have anything." Wait. He patted his pockets, then remembered the item he had brought with him from Earth, a good luck charm he carried to important events. It was simple, a copper coin, old and worn but polished to a warm shine. On one side was stamped a tree with spreading branches, on the other, a dove in flight. "My grandmother gave me this," Marcus explained, pressing it into Zafira's palm. "She said it represented roots and wings, being grounded in who you are, while having the courage to fly towards what you love. I've carried it through every major moment of my life." Zafira closed her fingers around it, tears slipping down her cheeks. "Marcus, I want you to have it, so you remember that I'm rooted in this, in us, even when we're apart, and that I'll fly across any distance to be with you." She kissed him then, deeply and without reservation, as the sunrise painted them both in gold. When they finally broke apart, Zafira helped Marcus fasten the pendant around his neck while he slipped the coin into her hand, watching her hold it close to her heart. "This isn't an ending," Zafira said firmly. "This is barely a beginning." "Agreed." Marcus pulled her close again, resting his chin on top of her head. "I'll message you the moment I'm back on Earth, and every day after that. I'll hold you to that." She tilted her face up, and he kissed her once more, soft and sweet and full of promise. They stood together as the station completed its rotation, bringing them back into the shadow of night. But neither felt darkness, only the warmth of each other, the certainty of connection, and the knowledge that they'd found something rare and precious. Other guests began to depart, returning to their ships and their worlds, carrying stories of their own nights of discovery. Marcus and Saphira were named until the last possible moment, memorizing each other's faces, sharing whispered promises and stolen kisses. Finally, reluctantly, they made their way to the docking bay. Marcus's shuttle waited, along with his return to duty and the familiar patterns of his life. But now those patterns would include daily messages across the void, countdown clocks measuring time until reunion, and the sweet ache of longing for someone who made everything else seem brighter. At the airlock, Zafira grabbed his collar and pulled him down for one final kiss, fierce and claiming. "Don't make me wait too long, Marcus Chen." 3 months, I promised, against her lips. "I'll be ready." He boarded the shuttle, turning back to wave as the doors began to close. Zafira was standing there, his coin pressed over her heart, her smile radiant despite the tears on her cheeks. Marcus touched the pendant at his throat, feeling its warmth, and smiled back. The doors sealed, and the shuttle pulled away from Celestra Prime. Through the viewport, Marcus watched the station grow smaller, a jewel suspended in the cosmic dark. Somewhere inside, Zafira was watching too, and the knowledge made the distance feel bearable. His communicator chimed with an incoming message. He opened it to find a single line of text in Zafira's elegant script.
already counting the moments until your wings bring you home to me." Marcus smiled, his heart full, and began composing his reply. The universe was vast and strange and full of wonder, but tonight he'd learned the most important truth: that connection could bridge any distance, that love could bloom between stars, and that sometimes the most mysterious invitation led to exactly where you needed to be. Outside the viewport, the stars burned bright with possibility, and Marcus Chen flew towards his future with hope singing in his veins. The end.